Hello everyone, William here. I recently showed in a community post that I started a language set of my favorite Pokemon, that is Cloyster. This is the Fossil First Edition. And you can see here I also have the Japanese, Coffee, German, Dutch, and French. And hopefully in this package, which is actually from France, it's not a French one in here is to me one of the hardest languages to collect for, and that is Portuguese. Now it's technically Brazilian Portuguese because if you didn't know, Pokemon cards in Portuguese are not released in Brazil. It's in Portugal, sorry, only in Brazil. I sometimes you can find sellers from Portugal with Brazilian Portuguese cards, but originally and still up to now, Portuguese cards you could only get from Brazil. And for that reason, to me, it's one of the hardest languages to collect for. Oh, this is kind of a weird packaging. I hope it's in here. Yeah, I see some Pokemon. Okay. Now, I bought Portuguese cards several times from sellers. Let me just pause to look at the card. I'm not sure how some of these cards get to the various countries. We see that more so with the vintage ones rather than the modern era ones. Yeah, it's pretty cool. I'm not too concerned with the condition, but it was listed at, I think, maybe excellent also. But when it comes to buying Portuguese cards, for me, there's really not much options in terms of conditions. I generally just buy whatever I can and go from there. And here are these are just some French cards I added to my order just to make up the price since it was about, I think, €4. And I want to say this card, the Cloyster, is maybe about £3 to £4, which to me was a really good deal because I sometimes see that's one thing with Portuguese cards. You can sometimes see them on eBay and other sites, but if they can be there's a very high premium placed on them for some reason. I'm not sure if people generally do buy them, but I try to avoid paying over. I've seen this one over £100, so I generally try to avoid paying that high price when I know that in the country of origin it's generally not that high. For why it's so hard to collect Portuguese cards, I'm not really sure. From speaking to sellers in Brazil, it seems that their postal system is not the most efficient. So whenever I've bought cards from Brazil, it's always been through DHL, which is why I usually buy several cards at a time. Here are some Portuguese pull-out trainers that I got some time ago. I'm not collecting a full set for any of these trainers, but I have a bunch. And I have some more here. These are more modern era ones. So if you are from Brazil or if you kind of know the reason why is it so hard for them to sellers there to actually list cars for the rest of the world. I'm kind of interested to know the reason why. In some ways, I feel it might be actually easier to just go to Brazil and buy all the Portuguese cards you want. Uh, in terms of the hardest language, that would obviously be Russian, but right now I'm not collecting any set where you need Russian cards. Anyway, at this point I'm just rambling, so I'm going to cut the video here. Thanks for watching.